So yes, CD Projekt RED is not being shy at all about talking about Cyberpunk, The Witcher, Cyberpunk Orion. We've got brand new details in here. Check it out. It says CD Projekt RED opens up about Phantom Liberty and Orion. The direction they're heading in is both exciting and concerning. I'll dive into that with you all in just a moment. Plus, check this out. Why Cyberpunk as a franchise has an edge over The Witcher. CD Projekt RED reveals interesting new details about their future. It's going to be interesting to see how they're going to divide their time between these two big franchises, plus the one new IP they're working on. Also, we have CD Projekt Red announced 7 new games, but how are they releasing? The most immediate strategy is very Witcher centric. What does this mean for Cyberpunk? Of course, we'll talk about that. Plus, a lot of you guys are wondering about multiplayer. Check it out right here. Cyberpunk Orion, the sequel, of course, to 2077. Multiplayer might be happening. CD Projekt Red talks about what kind of multiplayer games they want to create. So finally, they're giving us some sort of clue into how they're thinking about multiplayer for their games. This is really exciting stuff. All right, so this all comes from this recent article slash interview that was titled this, Head of CD Projekt, the biggest projects are still ahead of us. So exciting times for sure. So let's get into the first question, shall we? It goes on to say this right here, zoom it in for you all. Recently, CD Projekt announced an update of its strategy. It turned out to be a surprise. Not many new products were expected, but there were many of them. Why did you choose to reveal more? So let's find out what CD Projekt Red had to say about this matter. They go on to say this: we have big ambitions and a lot of work to do, and it's easier to implement plans once they are announced. In order to grow, we must attract the greatest talent, and the product plans we outlined in the strategy update will certainly strengthen the interest in CD Projekt Group. When it comes to releasing our games, we have intentionally left no dates. Instead, we show the way we want to go. So this is actually good news. This is telling me that announcing games early is less about hype building because there's been no CGI trailers or BS like that, but it's more about acquiring talent. It's telling people, game developers, up and coming game developers, everyone that, hey, we're open for business. Join us on our new endeavor. So that's what it's really about for CD Projekt Red. Now, CDPR went on to say this as well. They say the attitude towards Cyberpunk started to reverse with patch 1.5 and the launch of the new console edition in February of this year. On the basis of this already very solid game, we released patch 1.6, which, apart from the further improvements, contain elements connecting the game with the series, and it clearly surprised. We are on a good trajectory to reverse the sentiment around Cyberpunk and fight for good results in the long term. The key moment will be the release of the Phantom Liberty expansion, because there will be a lot of new content on it, and that is always the engine of increased interest. So they are kind of like approaching this with long-term thought process for Cyberpunk 2077. They want it to be something that you guys are interested in for years and years, which I think could be a good indication that, of course, this expansion is going to be very major, a sizable expansion. Now, let's get into the next question right here. It says, during the last update of the strategy, you introduced the concept of flywheels, driving synergies from use of your games, the film industry, etc. In the case of Edge Runners and Cyberpunk, it turned out to be true. Do you have any more specifics on the horizon? So basically, are we going to be getting an Edge Runner season 2? That sort of thing. What's going to be happening with the future of Cyberpunk beyond gaming? It says, yes, there are many possibilities from tiny to quite large projects. We definitely want to develop our brands in a reasonable and accessible fields of use. In the case of Cyberpunk, the entire franchise is ours. We do not have the rights to films and books for The Witcher. So there it is. That is so important to remember, that CD Projekt Red has a lot of confidence in Cyberpunk because they actually own, I guess you would say, the full rights to Cyberpunk and basically have the complete freedom to do whatever they want. They don't have to go to someone and continually get their feedback and permission. They can do it, all on their own. Although they do have feedback from individuals like Mike Pondsmith. He's really the mind behind Cyberpunk. You have to remember that, of course. We're talking about more about venturing Cyberpunk into games, TV series, that sort of thing. But yeah, that's actually very interesting to see that they commented on that compared to The Witcher. You got to remember, with The Witcher, they do have to consult with the source material all the time and respect it, which is probably a bit more challenging for them compared to, say, developing Cyberpunk. All right, so we have another interview that I wanted to tap into. So let's get into this right here. It says this: we have a Cyberpunk Second Life. That's a good way of describing it. Have the chances of a second story expansion or maybe a second season of Edge Runners increased? We got the response from Adakinski, CEO of CD Projekt RED. He says, "We are very pleased with the success of Edge Runners. In line with the strategy, we intend to pursue the franchise flywheel concept and look at the possibilities offered by film and television industry. Speaking of additions to Cyberpunk 2077, we decided to create one large expansion for the game. The next planned game from this franchise is the Orion project, in which we want to fully develop the potential of this universe." So yeah, once again, don't hold your breath. It looks like a second expansion is definitely not happening at all when it comes to Cyberpunk 2077. I'm still bummed by that. But you guys are probably wondering, hey, Robbie, how big is this expansion actually going to be? That's the next question. Check it out right here. It says, can we assume that Phantom Liberty will be an add-on of a size comparable to Heart of Stone and Blood and Wine combined? That's a great question, and the response was this: the structure and character of Phantom Liberty is different than in case of additions to The Witcher 3. We'll provide more information about it as part of the add-ons marketing campaign. So to me, that's kind of like a non-answer. And it kind of somewhat worries me that people are going to be expecting Phantom Liberty to be absolutely monstrous, huge, game like the size of Cyberpunk 2077 itself. Previously, CD Projekt Red said, no, that's not the case. This is an expansion, and you have to think of it in that way. So I'm kind of both excited for Phantom Liberty, but I'm apprehensive at the same time that it might accidentally get overhyped or something like that. So we'll see how this plays out. The ball is definitely in CD Projekt Red's court right now. Now, we have this one right here. It says, you announced work on 7 games in your strategy. What can their order be? So how would they be releasing all these 7 games? So here's the response right here. They go on to say this: we have indicated that the first 3 are Witcher games, 2 codenamed Cyrus and Polaris, and the third is a remake of the first Witcher, originally known as Canis Majoris. We did not give the order, but we confirmed that the remake, which is being creatively supervised by Fool's Theory, will be based on the Polaris technology. The order of these 2 can therefore be deduced. So yeah, from that assessment, it sounds like they're going all in first and foremost with the brand new saga. And then I guess we would be getting the Witcher remake, which is going to be based on the technology built by the Polaris team. So yeah, that's what I get from that. And it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out with The Witcher in the future. Exciting time for sure. Now, we have this one right here, and Hadar, third new IP. So we have some comments here. It says, as for this project, we emphasize that we are not working on the concept of the game, but only the concept of the world. This is an even earlier stage. We have never gone through such a stage before. Our previous games were based on already created universes. For Cyberpunk, we moved it to 57 years ahead from 2020 to 2077. So we had some conceptual work, but in the case of Hadar, we're creating this world for the first time from scratch. Me personally, I cannot wait to see what CD Projekt Red, their minds over there, can come up with on their own, being their own source material. And I think they're also doing this because they don't want to have to get approval from anyone whatsoever. They want to be in charge of everything that they are doing. Now, let's talk a little bit about multiplayer. It seems like it's definitely going to be a thing here attached to practically every franchise that CD Projekt Red does from here on out. Check out the question right here. During the strategy update, you also announced that you want to add multiplayer gameplay to your games. Will it do you a lot of work? So is it going to be tons of work, I guess you would say. This is all translated, by the way. Now, it says right here, we want to introduce multiplayer elements to most of our new games. It takes a lot of work, 2 types of work. First of all, Unreal Engine gives us a solid technological foundation for creating games with multiplayer elements. But this is the only basis through which we can further develop our technology and tools so that the multiplayer support is one of their pillars. So yeah, they're definitely tagging with Epic Games, and it sounds like they are very, very serious about multiplayer for the future. Furthermore, it says this: second, it also means a lot of work on the game itself, its design. We want the multiplayer game to be an extension of the experience of playing in single player mode. This is a natural direction. We want players to be able to experience the stories we tell together. So there is a major hint, huge hint as to what we can expect from their multiplayer portion for Cyberpunk Orion and, of course, the new Witcher game. So, my assessment of this is they want you to be able to explore the open world they've already crafted, but with friends. Also, kind of makes me apprehensive because I don't know if every game is going to be like drop in, drop out co op forever. You know what I mean? I prefer to have a single player portion where I can have fun with that and then a separate multiplayer experience, even if it's in the world itself, like Night City or what have you. I mean, I feel like GTA 5 kind of perfected this balance where you can have a good single player experience, but in the same world, you could still enjoy online. So that's what I'm hoping that they actually do. But it would be cool to experience co-operative play together. And they didn't really mention PvP. They made it sound like they were more about co-op play, the togetherness of multiplayer. So yeah, seems like that is the direction they're heading in with their franchises. Furthermore, we have this one. Are you considering multiplayer for Cyberpunk 2077? We're not talking about Orion. We're still on 2077. It says no. But as we announced on Tuesday, multiplayer is planned for most of our next game. So if you guys are holding your breath, hoping that multiplayer comes to Cyberpunk 2077, definitely not happening like officially. Do not hold your breath anymore. So we're going to talk about some features that still need to be added to Cyberpunk 2077, despite the fact that we're only getting one expansion. I really wish we are getting two, but check this out right here. It says, am I missing something? You can't do a wheelie, right? Right? So yeah, there are responses underneath this thread. In my opinion, this is telling CD Projekt RED, hey, we want improvement still to vehicles, especially motorcycles. But yeah, I really hope with the next update and then also the expansion, they fine tune the vehicle handling and make motorcycles especially more fun. That's something that they need to tap into. Personally, I saw a lot of people talking about that, so I thought it would be worth mentioning. Also, there is something so annoying about Cyberpunk 2077. Check this out right here. 5,400 upvote says, can't stand this guy's speech every time I load my save. Is there any way to change the load screen to a quieter one on PlayStation 5? From what I can tell, there is no way to do that, but I agree. I think some of these loading screens can, in my personal opinion, get on your nerves after a while. It would be nice to be able to have something that isn't like someone just blaring the same line over and over again when you load up into Cyberpunk. In fact, I think there needs to be a patch for that for sure. All right, so let's get into your top comments about my most recent video, which was this one right here. It says, Update 1.7, this big feature is changing forever. CD Projekt RED reveals Project Majoris, which of course is the Witcher remake running on Unreal Engine 5. That's going to be cool to check out because I think a lot of us haven't played uh, the first Witcher game. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see what they do with that one. So let's get into the replies here. Now we have Marco who says this: treat mega buildings like they do in Dread, make them like a deep dive dungeon or some event of sorts. I think about that every time I look at one in game. This is a genius idea. I love it. I wish they had you on the development team, honestly, because that's what they should have done originally. Made like mega buildings, maybe like a tougher type raid type experience. I hate to use the word raid experience because this is a single player game, but I get what you're talking about. Higher difficulty, perhaps, make it challenging. That would be so cool. And again, my personal opinion, they could explore parkour move sets within mega buildings. I'd be very happy with that one too. All right, let's keep going. Yamera Abru, I hope I said that right. He says, I hope that one day CD Projekt Red add a way to reset your boost attribute points like you can with the skill point, since a lot of players probably want to try out new creative ways of playing the game with different abilities. I'm always going to be talking about that in my videos. We want to be able to reset our attribute points, give players more options, of course. Maybe they'll add something like that with the expansion or update 1.7. Seems like it might be an easy enough feature to add in there, so I don't know what the deal is. And we have JT King who says this: I hope they bring or add bigger apartments in the next update. The Corpo Plaza apartment is way too small. It would be cool if V could buy his family home in Charter Hill if you choose the Corpo Live app. Yeah, that would be really, really cool. And, I want to see more customization all around in your apartments. And the one thing that's severely lacking still to this day is customization for your own car. That's something I would love to see. Now, Scott Templar says this: I want to see more combos with melee. I also want to see the mono wire for silent kills from behind or use one arm of the Mantis Blade for a silent kill. Yeah, to think that this stuff is not already implemented is kind of strange, and it would make great additions. Maybe, just maybe, that could be included in the Melee update. I'm not gonna, like, speculate that too much, but they are doing a Melee update in update 1.7. So, yeah, you never know. That would be very, very cool for sure. Metazune says this, it would be cool for some main or side missions to take place in mega buildings and have main and side characters living in them. Some live in a lower tier of the building and some live higher up. And the room, of course, reflects their character. Some are like more dirty, some are really clean, and some crazy netrunner gear. It would be cool to have more to do with your romantic partner or even friends, something like GTA 4, taking them bowling and stuff. Would also love a world that changes and reacts to your choices, even if it's not story related. Just exploring and finding something that says local gang took over this building and wreaking havoc, and everyone living like they're homeless. And you go in, deal with it, and then its days pass. You can see it slowly, see it becoming a better place to live, like your actions can shape the city and actually see it. That would be so cool, dude. Jobs will open up and so on. Not like how I remember it, where Night City is just the same all the time, no matter where you go or what, nothing changes. Yeah, I totally get that. I mean, look at Fallout 3, for example, what you can do with that and actually change an entire location in that game, if you know what I mean. But anyway, there it is, the latest happenings around Cyberpunk 2077. Thank you all so much for watching. Stay tuned for more, and I will see you all next time. Take care.